This is the Dr. A Show with your host, Dr. Will Aguila.
Welcome to the show. I love stories about people overcoming great odds and achieving success. Today we have two inspiring stories about people who turned their negatives into positives. Actor Kevin Sorbo felt, well, like Hercules, invincible, when his life took an unexpected turn. What happened next nearly cost his acting career, not to mention his own life. But Kevin pulled it together and beat the odds, finding his true strength in the end. A young boy finds abuse and neglect from his alcoholic parents, eventually turning him to drugs and gangs. Should have been dead by his own accord several times, but instead he pulled himself up from rock bottom to become the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, and now he shares his experience with others. So stay with us today for a show that will inspire you like no other. First, Kevin Sorbo played the lead in the USA Network's Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, where he became a star. Originally from Minnesota, Kevin got the acting bug by age 11 and fine-tuned his acting at home and overseas. After 7 years as Hercules, he played Captain Dylan Hunt in the hit show Andromeda. Since then, he has appeared in numerous shows including Dharma and Greg, 2.5 Men, and a recurring role in The O.C. But few people knew that Kevin had a life-changing near-death experience. In a matter of seconds, everything changed, and what followed was a slow recovery, both mentally and physically. Here to share that story with us is Kevin Sorbo. Hi, Kevin. Thanks for coming back to the show.
Good to be back.
Oh, Kevin, early on, what inspired you to become an actor?
You know, it's funny. As a little kid growing up, I used to watch all these old movies with my mom. She was, Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn, Spencer Tracy, all those people, So I watched all these old black and white movies and was just sort of, I was small, but I was into it. It was fascinating to me. But what really put it over the end for me was I went to the theater in Minneapolis. I grew up just outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and it's called the Guthrie Theater. It's a very famous theater. People, certainly in the theatrical world, know it. A lot of Broadway people come out there to perform. And I saw Shakespeare, and I was only 11 years old, and it was The Merchant of Venice. I didn't know what the heck they were saying. But I was mesmerized by not only the actors on stage, but I was mesmerized by watching the people being mesmerized. And for whatever reason, I just said, that's what I want to do. And I told my mom that on the way home. I said, you know what? I want to be an actor, Mom. And she looked at me and, gave me a little pat on the thigh saying, that's nice, dear. So there wasn't a whole lot. It wasn't negative, but, not a lot of support.
How difficult was it then to make it in show business?
It's tough. You come out to L.A. I didn't know a soul out here, and I came out here after my university days, and I just made the move. I packed up the car and came out here and found a place to stay, and everybody's an actor out here. So all I got to do is go to any restaurant and ask a waiter or a waitress about acting classes. So I just got myself in a different acting classes. I checked things out and got the classes that sort of would motivate me and push me, and found a commercial agent, started working very well commercially. I was very fortunate that way. When I got out here, I never had to work another job. Actually, the first audition I had, 3 days after I arrived, I booked the commercial, and I ended up shooting 10 days down in Sydney, Australia. And, knock on wood, I never had to bartend here or be a bouncer or be a waiter or any of that stuff. I just did very well commercially, and that sort of supplied me with the free time to get into the acting classes I needed to get into.
What has been your favorite role so far as an actor?
Well, I got to go with the role that made me famous. That was Hercules. That was 7 years on that show. It's funny. I went down there in 1991 to New Zealand and shot a commercial, and said, "Wow, this is beautiful down here. I hope to come back down and check it out longer." Well, a year and a half later, I booked Hercules, and I lived there from 1993 through all of '99. So I was there for almost 7 years. Shooting that series, and it actually passed Baywatch as the most watched TV show in the world, so it's pretty neat to be part of something like that.
So your life is going great. It's going just fine. You're in a major show. All the pieces are falling into place. Did you feel invincible at that moment?
I felt like the path was right. I was in L.A. for 6 years before I got that break on Hercules, and, knock on wood, I did a lot of commercials that paid the bills, but at the same time, I wasn't getting... I did a couple pilots that didn't get picked up, so I wasn't feeling real, like this, I got it made. Hercules, when I got that success and got that series, I felt very grateful. I knew I said, you know what, I'm lucky, but I made my own luck at the same time, but I'm grateful that I got this opportunity, and I loved being on the show. I loved the crew I worked with, the cast I worked with, I never took that for granted at all.
Basically, you're feeling everything is going well, and the last thing in your mind was that something was about to happen. So tell us what happened.
Well, it was the end of season 5. The last couple months, I kept having these shoulder pain, and I blew it off. I was working out 2 hours a day at the end of a 14-hour workday, and I was doing my own stunts. So, I was taking bumps and bruises. I paid attention to it, but my left finger started getting more and more painful. I couldn't quite figure out what was going on with my fingers. And so when I got back to L.A., I saw my doctor in Los Angeles because I was on my way to shoot a movie in Atlanta, and he found a lump in my left shoulder. And he said, I would do a biopsy. His initial concern was that it was cancer. He didn't tell me that at the time. But then I went to see my chiropractor, and in the 8 years I've been with this guy, he's never, ever cracked my neck. And I'm laying on his table, and because I don't like my neck cracked, that's why. So I hear a voice from the top of my head that said, don't let him crack your neck. And I thought, I opened my eyes and said, did you say something? He goes, no, I didn't say anything. And he feeling around my shoulder, yeah, I can feel the bump here. There's something going on. And I hear a voice from my head say again, don't let him crack your neck. I thought, how odd is that? Why am I hearing his voice? Well, before I had a chance, he cracked my neck. Well, within minutes, that bump in my shoulder ended up being an aneurysm, and that crack helped open it up more and send hundreds of clots, not only in my arm, but 3 of the clots went in my brain. I suffered 3 strokes. So my life got turned around very, very quickly when I thought everything was going pretty well.
Now, what does it feel like having a stroke?
It's not fun. I had 3 of them. 2 went to my balance center, 1 went to my vision. The initial feeling was that feeling you get when everybody gets it sometimes, when I stand up too quickly after I've been laying down on the couch or what's bed or whatever, and they get that dizzy feeling, that head rush. Well, multiply that by 100. I was beyond dizzy. I felt like my head was inside an aquarium looking through the water and the glass. Everything was distorted and strange. And I had a sensation I was falling backwards. And I was standing, sitting, laying down, didn't matter. I was falling and falling and falling. I couldn't stop that sensation. That lasted for well over a year, that feeling. I still had a 10% loss of vision of both eyes. I went through serious rehab to learn to walk again because I looked like a very drunk man with the stroke.
How long was your rehabilitation? How long was your rehabilitation?
It took me a good 3 years to feel 100%. Even though I'll never be 100%, I still have limitations, but no one would be able to tell except me. But the first year and a half was by far the most brutal. It was just, I went from a 12-hour workday to 14-hour workday down to about 1 hour a day when I went back to New Zealand 4 months later after my rehab. My physical therapy to get my balance back, and then I worked it up each month, added about another hour, and by the end of season 7, which was 2 years after my stroke, I was back up to about 9 or 10 hours of working a day again.
Kevin, you also underwent surgery, right?
Well, they had to go. Yeah, they went through an angio and went into my shoulder, and they put a platinum coil in where the aneurysm was. And this was a technique that was pretty new at the time. This was back in 1997. And they were starting to use it for brain aneurysms. So the doctor that did brain surgery said, look, we don't have to cut him open. I can go do this. And so it was pretty amazing. And that certainly stopped the blood flow, the clotting. And they filled me full of heparin and cumin in his blood centers to break up all the blood clots. But it was... it was pretty touch and go for a while. The doctors told me a couple hours more without any treatment, I certainly would have died.
And a very scary situation, I'm sure. Did you? And you said you had two more strokes after that, or did they happen very quick?
I had all the strokes at the same time there.
Oh, all at the same time. Okay.
I had a fourth one that happened on the way to the hospital. That was my speech. And my speech was all garbled, but that dissolved very quickly, so my speech wasn't affected at all.
Wow, it's very difficult. Now, tell me about, did you go back into your weightlifting after all those years? Did you have any residual?
Well, I wouldn't, I couldn't, that first half a year, the first 6 months was pretty tough. I wasn't doing any lifting during the rehab. I was doing stretching, I was doing walking, I was doing anything just to get my balance back, a lot of balance exercises. I started lifting again, but by the time I got back to New Zealand, I'd lost about 15 pounds of muscle. And you
Wow.
can see the difference when people are watching the show. They can see that, number one, that I wasn't on as much during season 6, and that there was certainly a weight loss. But I still lift weights to this day. I don't lift heavy anymore.
Well, let's talk about that after the break, because I want to touch on how you film Hercules without people knowing what has happened to you. We're speaking with actor Kevin Sorbo about his brush with death and overcoming great odds. His book is titled True Strength. When we return, Kevin will tell us how he shot episodes of Hercules while still recovering from his stroke. Stay with us.
And now, back to the Dr. A Show with your host, Dr. Will Aguila.
Welcome back to the Dr. A Show. Our guest is actor Kevin Sorbo. His book is titled True Strength, My Journey from Hercules to Mere Mortal and How Nearly Dying Saved My Life. And you can pick up a copy of the book in any bookstore and on Amazon, and follow Kevin on his website, kevinsorbo.net. Kevin, you were shooting Hercules while you were going through your recovery. How did you manage that?
You know, the studio kept it very quiet. They didn't want anybody to know about my stroke. So Universal, the only thing that came out, like on Access Hollywood and ET, was that I had an aneurysm and that everything was fine. In today's world, this happened in September of 1997. In today's world, there's no way. The hospitals get paid off too much for people to give all the information out. And everybody's got
on Twitter right away.
Oh, there's no question about it. But the studio, being in New Zealand helped as well, because I was away from all that limelight. And the studios didn't want anybody to know, because the show was the most watched show in the world. They still had 2 years on my contract, so they did a lot of stunt casting. They brought in a lot of other actors that people recognize. They rewrote episodes. Actually, one episode was called Hercules, where Hera turns me into a pig. I'm not even in the whole episode. You just see I just had to go into the studio and say some lines, and they threw it in the pig's mouth. So they did what they could to sort of write around it and just do what they can.
How difficult was it to come out publicly with what happened to you when you did come out?
Well, it took me a long time. I didn't. You know what? It's the male ego. I didn't want to show that weakness, because I've always played. After Hercules, I did 5 years in Andromeda, which was the Gene Roddenberry show, where I'm once again a hero with that guy that's in the fight, all physical and stuff. And I guess I didn't want people to know that I had this weak thing that happened to me. But my wife talked me into writing the book. She said, "You'll see what happens when you write this book. You're going to save people's lives. You're going to motivate people." And it's been that way. It's been amazing. So I'm grateful that she talked me into coming out and doing it finally.
Now, your wife was a real means of support for you. How did she help you?
It's incredible, because we were 4 months from being married when the stroke happened. She could have walked away. She didn't know what my recovery was going to be or not be, and I wouldn't have blamed her. I don't want to be a nursery maid the rest of my life to this guy. So she stuck by my side, and she pushed me. And anytime I got down on myself, felt sorry for myself, she basically slapped me up and said, "You know what? You got to make a choice here. We all have a choice. You can be happy, move on with your life, be miserable the rest of your life. What do you want to be?" And I think the book, the title True Strength, really came from finding your own true strength, because I'm a very strong-willed person. I wasn't going to let this hold me back. I wanted my career to keep going. I love acting. I wanted to keep living. I wanted to have my self-esteem back and my own hope and all that stuff. So this book was really to show people that no matter what you hit in your life, that roadblock that we're all going to hit one day, how do you react when you hit that? How do you get past it? How do you make yourself get better instead of getting bitter? And, don't let other people set your limitations, whether it's doctors or your family or friends. Don't let anybody set limitations on you. Push past what you think you can't do.
And just allow your passion to get free, to set it free and let it go, and don't deny it.
My wife gave me a mantra to say every day in front of the mirror when I got up. She goes, "I want you to look in the mirror and say, I'm getting better, I'm getting stronger." And I want you to keep saying it until you believe it that day. I'll tell you, it makes a big difference. So look yourself in the face, in your mirror. Because, we live in a world now with a self-entitlement where people want everybody else to take care of them. If there's any problems, it's your fault, it's not their own fault. You know what? Look in the mirror. That's where your fault is. If you want your life to be changed, you have to make that change and quit pointing fingers at other people for your problems. It's pathetic and it's sad. And that's why people have low self-esteem, because they're always looking for a scapegoat. You have to look in the mirror and take responsibility for your own life.
Now, you recovered from your ordeal, but it wasn't without setbacks and frustrations and even angry moments, and you express some of those in the book. Do you think that we need to allow ourselves to experience these emotions while we're going through a difficult time? I mean, it's okay to give ourselves permission to do that?
You know, you have to. And you have to rely on other people, too. Don't be afraid to have support from people. Don't be afraid to, like I said, it's back to the egos of the guys that we have. It's like, I can do this, I can do this. Yeah, well, you can do this. But you know what? You also need a support team around you to do things. I went through panic anxiety attacks. I went through depression. I went through all kinds of negative emotions, and I got angry much quicker at different things. And it was like coming. I'm not an alcoholic, but it's like the 12 stages of you trying to get rid of that. I had to get past those things and just say, you know what? I need to do this. I can't hold myself back. I'm not going to hold myself back. And it's like I said, it's finding the own true strength within yourself. You have to find that.
And Kevin, what have you done differently in your life since you recovered from your strokes?
I'll tell you one thing: you enjoy life a lot more when you realize. I was feeling invincible. I was feeling strong. I was everything opposite of what people who suffer strokes. I don't have high blood pressure. I'm not diabetic. I'm not overweight. If the only thing that had maybe going in my life that may have happened that caused the aneurysm was maybe the heavy stress I had in my life. If I was having stress, I wasn't feeling it, but I was living off of 4.5 hours of sleep a night. I was door to door, 18 hours a day on my television series, and I think all that stuff just caught up to me. And it's just you need to rest. Rest is a good thing. No can be a positive word, and you have to go through different stages in your life to make yourself realize that you can't, what you mentioned earlier, the pain, bitterness, the anger, those things will come, but you have to get a point where you get past them. Otherwise, you're going to be bitter and angry the rest of your life.
Now, your life is truly a testament to your inner strength and resilience. Now, how can others aspire to do the same?
I would love them to go out to get my book. I mean, I've been speaking at hospitals, churches. I just spoke in front of 1,600 neurologists down in San Diego a couple months ago. I spoke in a group of 1,000 nurses. I do bookstores as well, and I meet people at these events. They come up, they're crying, they're heart attack survivors, they're stroke survivors, they're cancer, whatever. The book, they say, has motivated them to get past feeling sorry for themselves, feeling the pity that they have for themselves. It's motivated them to work harder in their therapy. And, that's exactly why my wife told me to write the book, and she's completely right. So the book is not a downer. The book is all about getting past things. There's some very funny stories in there. There's wonderful anecdotes. But it's also about pushing past the boundaries that we set upon ourselves and making ourselves be better with these curveballs that like I said, we're all going to have to learn to hit one day. There's no way about it, because that's the one inevitable thing for us. We're all going to get sick one day. It's going to lead to our death. How do you fight past that and not let death take you away from the earth that we're living on right now?
You actually wrote on the title, "How Nearly Dying Saved My Life." Why did it save your life? It was because you opened up and learned all these things?
You know what? I spent a lot more time with family, a lot more time with friends. You realize what really is important in life is family and friends and health. Those are corny statements, but they're so true. And, I was a guy it was go, 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 but it's all about the business. It was all about the business. And all I cared about was furthering my career and pushing my career. There's more things to life than a career. If this hadn't happened to me, I know with the 3 kids that I have now that I wouldn't have had if I died, of course, I am so much more patient with them than I probably would have been. When I'm in my office working, and any one of my kids walks into my office, I put down whatever I'm doing. I shut the computer off, I put the pen down, and I listen to what they got to say. And they go, my little girl will say, "Daddy, you come and draw with me." Yes, I will. I was going to come draw with you right now.
That's very nice.
And it makes a big difference in not only their life, but your life as well, trust me.
So take time out for your kids and your family. Slow down is basically what the message is.
Yeah. If you are a parent, then be a parent. And we all know, everybody who's got kids realize how quick the years go by and how quickly they grow up. Pretty soon, by the time they're 18, they're gone. You know, they're taken off. You know.
And it's interesting because you said that now your kids' friends are watching the old Hercules reruns, and they're like, wow, you know, they're really getting into that.
Well, you know, it's funny because it's sort of a reliving the past for me too. I mean, it's hard to believe that show's been done now for 12 years, and you know, it's on Netflix now. It's on Hub Television, so I'm getting this under 18 crowd, this next generation, that are watching it for the first time. So I'm walking through the grocery store and getting 15-year-old kids stopping me all the time. It's pretty funny.
What projects do you have coming up, Kevin?
You know, I've got a number of movies coming up. People go to kevinsorbo.net to get information. I got videos on there. I've got I just finished a movie in Utah called Storm Rider. That'll be out probably around December, January. I've got another movie called Abel's Field that just came out in DVD. It's a great family movie. What If is another great movie. But, you know, if they go to kevinsorbo.net, they'll see. And I've got 3 more movies I'm shooting this year before it's out. So I'm staying busy.
Excellent, Kevin. Kevin, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. The book is True Strength, My Journey from Hercules to Mere Mortal and How Nearly Dying Saved My Life. And you can pick up a copy of the book in any bookstore and on Amazon, and follow Kevin on his website, kevinsorbo.net. Kevin, thanks again.
My pleasure. Thanks for your time.
Next up, hear how one man went from a homeless drug addict to CEO of a multi-million-dollar corporation when the Dr. A Show continues.